It's always interesting trying to predict what humans and the world is going to look like in a few decades, a century, even 1,000 years from now. Are we finally going to get flying cars? Will humans be living in space? Will artificial intelligence finally take over the world? Today, I'll be going through some of my predictions for Generation Theta, the humans of the year 2100, starting from the least to the most obscure using a classic iceberg. But before we jump in, I just have to disclose these are all speculative. If you disagree, that's totally fine. I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Just be nice. But otherwise, this is all just for fun. I am not here to predict the future. Okay, let's jump in. Starting with augmented reality and holographics, I really do think these are going to be part of normal everyday life, whether through holographic projections, extended reality devices, or even cybernetic lenses. I think a big theme with Generation Theta, which I'll cover in other topics on this iceberg as well, is the blending of reality and technology more seamlessly without the need for devices and screens. The state of advertising will also change a lot in 100 years from now. With digital experiences being more available offline, companies will have more real estate to advertise in the real world. Holographic advertisements will be projected everywhere, announcing the latest sale or sensory upgrade. Giant billboards will also be prevalent, featuring moving images that are interactive and extremely lifelike. Next, we have cybernetics, which will completely revolutionize natural human biology. People will be able to upgrade their body parts to improve normal function and enhance senses like hearing and sight, either through implants or complete organ replacements. Imagine upgrading to a bionic pair of eyes that allow you to access augmented reality without a headset, or getting ear implants that are built with natural language processing for automatic translation wherever you are, or even gives you the ability to listen to music without the need for headphones. Like I mentioned earlier, a big element of Generation Theta will be the blending of technology and real life, including our biology, reducing our dependency on screens. So cyborgs are going to be a normal part of our everyday life. And lastly, we have drone technology, which will completely change modern-day shipping and logistics. Companies like UPS Amazon will be able to deliver orders in a matter of minutes, not days. These were not too crazy, but we're going to get into a little bit more obscure territory in this next section. Virtual reality is an obvious one, but the state of virtual reality is going to be completely different. First off, technologists are going to be able to incorporate all 5 senses into virtual reality, including smell, touch, and taste. It will be almost indistinguishable from real life. I could totally imagine a group of people who live almost exclusively in virtual reality. I'm not really sure if there's going to be one centralized virtual reality or multiple realities to choose from, but either way, it will have its own government, economy, and culture. As cybernetics become more popular, our beauty standards will also change in favor of a more mechanical or humanoid aesthetic. Cybernetic enhancements will be designed to look human but way more futuristic, like bionic eyes with customizable colors, or even dermal plates with unique designs that sort of mimic tattoos but way more high-tech. With rapid development and reliance on artificial intelligence, there will be more artificially intelligent public figures, like professors, celebrities, and even politicians. And while I don't think AI is going to be running for office in 100 years, I could see it playing a more prevalent role in areas like politics, serving as political commentators, or even journalists. There will be a rise in artificial intelligence in creative fields, like writing, art, and maybe even filmmaking. But they will have their own accolades and reward system, sort of like Grammys and Oscars, but specifically for artificial intelligence. Breakthroughs in healthcare will allow humans to live up to 150 years old. Advancements in nanomedicine and immunotherapy will be able to cure diseases like cancer. Regenerative therapy will become more available, allowing people to upgrade aging or damaged body parts with cybernetic organs. And aging may also very well be treated like you do diseases, slowing down the aging process drastically. And lastly for this section, while I don't think people are going to be living in space full time, at least not other planets. I do think there's going to be an introduction of short-term experimental colonies on Mars to test out its viability. All right, how are we feeling? Do you disagree? Do you think this is absolutely crazy, or maybe not crazy enough? Just stick with me because it's about to get even weirder in the next section. Going back to the theme of reducing dependency on physical devices, brain-computer interfaces, or BCIs for short, will be a defining technology for Generation Theta, sort of how, like, smartphones are a key piece of technology for millennials and Gen Z. BCIs are systems that allow a person to control an external device using just their brain activity. So instead of physically texting, you could simply think about the message you want to send, the person you want to send it to, and the text will fire away. Combined with cybernetic accessories like implanted speakers, you'll be able to make and receive phone calls without a physical phone. While I don't think that we're going to be living in space full time, I do think orbital space tourism will become more popular and accessible. At least one giant spaceship is going to be orbiting Earth, allowing for short-term stays and even rentals. Overnight stays will be pretty expensive, but day trips will be available at a more affordable rate, so you get to see what the world looks like from space. Brain-computer interfaces powered with artificial intelligence will be able to map your memories, thoughts, and even your dreams by monitoring brain activity and neural pathways. These powerful computers will be able to decode your brain activity into actual videos and photos and store them into a personal or shared digital cloud. The implications of this is pretty crazy, obviously raising a ton of ethical concerns. Like, imagine having to pay for additional storage so you could keep more of your memories. This is sort of reminiscent of that one episode of Black Mirror, but slightly different. Through augmented reality, people will be able to curate public profiles that sort of hover around you at all times, which could include very useful business information, a public status, links to your social media, and yes, maybe even a social credit score. You can't have a list like this and not mention Sentient AI. I think in time, technologists will agree on a technical definition of machine consciousness, which is going to be a lot different than natural human consciousness. It will almost be like its own branch of consciousness that is unique to artificial intelligence and machines. It will be contingent on things like self-awareness, emotional intelligence, and free will. Machines considered sentient will be treated much differently in society. They will be respected, hold powerful positions, and might even have their own rights. There is no doubt in my mind that human-AI relationships will not only exist, but will be pretty normalized in Generation Theta. And I'm not just talking about romantic relationships, although I do think that industry is going to explode, especially paired with virtual reality. But people's relationship with artificial intelligence as a whole will become more intimate. You could have artificially intelligent friends, business partners, assistants, even caretakers. They will blend seamlessly in society, not to replace humans, but to live alongside humans. The last one in this layer is another one that has pretty heavy ethical implications. So I don't know how widespread it's going to be used beyond healthcare, but I do think that at the very least, doctors will have the ability to edit the genes of embryos pretty extensively before fertilization. This would essentially allow parents to customize their babies like you would a sim. You could choose physical traits like eye color, height, and even things like athleticism and cognitive function. But I imagine it would be wildly expensive and pretty heavily regulated, even for the wealthy who are able to access this type of technology. All right, we are officially at the bottom of the iceberg. Let me know what you're thinking. Hopefully, I haven't lost you just yet. I think another very cool feature of Generation Theta will be their ability to use telepathy. Through brain-computer interfaces, people will be able to communicate with one another simply by sending signals to each other's BCIs. These signals will be deciphered into messages, sort of like a mental text. I think this will be as close as humans get to telepathy without literally reading each other's minds. I think tech companies will become even more powerful as technology becomes more prevalent and intrusive. Like internet or cell service, BCIs will be managed and distributed by a select few of extremely powerful and wealthy companies. These companies will have direct access to your brain activity, having the ability to collect very personal information on its users, like their memories and their thoughts. This leads me to the second layer of advertising on this iceberg, which is a lot creepier and way more invasive. Companies will be able to identify certain memories and dreams that yield high emotional activity, like happiness, excitement, or fear, and use that information for hyper-personalized ads. Imagine having an exciting dream about traveling to a tropical island. You may be targeted with flights to Fiji the very next day. And this goes back to the brain storage dilemma. Companies might figure out a way to charge for premium versions of your thoughts, like upgrading the visuals to high definition, or paying for extra storage to remember more of your dreams. Sort of in the same vein, we have premium vision. With cybernetic eyes, companies may be able to block your vision on certain landscapes unless you pay a premium to access it. Like, imagine having surge pricing on the sunset because this is the most desirable hour. Or instead of purchasing a ticket to see a movie, the screen is blacked out until you confirm payment. Now, this is obviously more of an issue for people who upgrade to cybernetic eyes, but I can also imagine a world where some areas are restricted for cyborg beings only. This leads me to the last prediction on the iceberg, which is essentially a more extreme version of our current digital divide. Technological advancements are not linear or evenly distributed in society, especially in capitalism, where the wealthy have the highest levels of access. Things like cybernetics and space tourism will still be expensive luxury experiences in 100 years from now. So while you have a small group of people who can afford to upgrade themselves to superhuman abilities, there will still be a large number of primitive 21st century humans. It might even come to a point where 21st century humans cannot compete with their cyborg counterparts. Imagine a world where there are two divisions of sports competitions or separate universities for different ranges of ability. But this is all just science fiction, and the powerful capitalist forces have our best interests at heart. Right? Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your thoughts are. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Are there predictions that weren't on this list that you see for Generation Theta? Please don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.